retail broadcast channel with Peter Neyens.
Hello and welcome to your retail broadcast channel. I'm Peter Neyens. Today I want to go deeper into the topic how e-commerce can impact your business and the setup of a good e-commerce. I invited Kevin Vanhoudt, an e-commerce specialist, which you maybe have heard in a previous podcast, talking about omnichannel. Hello Kevin, thank you again for sharing your knowledge and wisdom.
Hi Peter, you're welcome. Well, given the current circumstances that all European countries are facing at the moment and the speed of digitalization in all businesses, I'm really happy to share my experience with you.
Oh, great, Kevin. The last time we met, we talked about an omnichannel strategy for the Benelux market. And because of the big numbers of amazing reactions, I wanted to go deeper into the term e-commerce. If I want to have a competitive e-commerce, what are the best ways to do that? And maybe in addition, what is the best way to start and make it a success story?
Well, today it has never been easier to set up a successful online store. Nowadays, you have all kinds of tools that let you sell online quickly and very easily. However, there are some things you need to pay attention to. The more extensive your shop needs to be, the higher the cost will be. And that's the same in any business. There's always 100 of things you want to do, but money and time are always limited. From my experience, I know that it's best to start with an MVP so you can see returns from your webshop as soon as possible. And after that, you can start to further expand your webshop and the full digitalization of your business. As an example, you can start with your webshop and make sure that customers can buy. And in a later phase, you can link your stock of all your stores together with your ERP and CRM system. And if you handle always those things well, you will get an advantage over your competitors because you can be up and running very quickly.
Oh, great. And how is social media involved in e-commerce? If we investigate the link between social media and e-commerce, what are the steps to follow? Which are the channels retailers will use and why?
Oh, for Facebook and Instagram today, you can quickly and easily create a product feed, and thus it's easy to link your web shop, or you can even choose to check out in Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn, from my side of view, is more for B2B companies, but you can also use Facebook and Instagram for brand awareness with your website visitors. And you can also use, for example, lookalikes of your visitors. And for that, I will use LinkedIn a lot of times during my daily job.
Yeah. And what are the best then platforms to invest in, and what is the average cost for that?
The best platform is always hard to say, as it is different for every business. One business will benefit from Facebook, while others will benefit just more from Instagram. I think it's key to play with your campaigns and analyze the data you get from them. Only in that way, you will know what works best for your business. And you also hear a lot of different things about budget, but I always recommend to use about 15 to 20% of your monthly turnover for campaigns in the early stage of a marketing campaign. Afterwards, you can start fine-tuning it on the platform there. You will benefit most of it.
Okay. And what is the importance of a global image gallery or a library? Why not keep working manually? Do you have some examples of image galleries that you can do the trick with? Can every image gallery connect with my ERP and with my e-commerce and even with my marketplaces?
Well, if you have a web shop with a few items, you can work manually. But once you have 100 or so items, you're better off working with a content delivery network. These can be linked to your ERP, POS, your PIM system, etc. And you can really go far in this. But bear in mind that you will need technical people to set this one up.
So, and how do I get started, and where is this small budget going to get me?
Well, it's quite difficult to start this yourself, because for this, it's best to hire an external party to do the technical setup. However, with a small business, a small budget, you will not go very far because the setup requires some time and knowledge. And once everything is set up technically, then your monthly costs for a CDM are not that high as you think.
Correct, yeah. And most of the retailers already did some innovations and digitalizations, but had a real bad experience and not had the result that they expected. How can we resolve this problem, and how can we have a result we can predict and is satisfying for all the parties?
Usually this is caused by going with a bad party. I see this myself on a regular basis. Companies who want to start e-commerce as quickly and cheaply as possible. And then, unfortunately, they end up with companies that promise a lot but don't deliver anything. It's important that you know what you want in the first place and what your budget is. After that, you can start looking at the platforms that are available and what they will cost. Because most platforms have a license cost, and people sometimes forget this when taking the first steps. After that, it is best to contact a number of companies and discuss all the details of what you want in terms of functionalities. These functionalities will then be worked out in detail together with your partner, and they will be able to give you a targeted price. It's also best to ask them to provide you with a complete roadmap with some examples of the websites they have already made.
Well, Kevin, I got a question of one of our listeners that I really wanted to ask you. If I got data coming from my ERP system in my from my physical store, such as customer data, sales data, and I have data coming in from my e-commerce, and an additional data coming in from my marketplaces, how do I combine this data and get a global result? It's like, isn't it a good question?
Well, it's a very good question. I'm glad you're asking this question because few companies think about this properly. The ideal setup would be that all your data is available in your CRM and in your ERP system. If you have a physical customer in your store tomorrow, their data should also be available online and vice versa. For example, if a customer buys a gift card online, it should also be usable in the physical store. And you can go really far on this. But you always have to keep in mind, is it necessary to go that far? Because even returns can be linked to this one, for example. A customer who buys online may return or exchange this item. If you have to make sure that the customer can return online, but for example, pick up the item and the amount in the store, then it's a whole different story. Or your customer should even have the option to exchange the item in the store. These are usually not out-of-the-box features, but additional features. And that takes quite a lot of development time, but it's very important for the customer experience.
So you're not denying that it will cost me more money, but if you divided your annual budget in the right modules and tools and let people make decisions and not calculations, that alone already will gain money.
Well, in the end, it's always the person who will have the final decision. But an answer should always be based on numbers. And right numbers you only get by analyzing your data. Especially small companies have a lot of data, but they're not using it in the right way. And the more data you have, the deeper you can analyze and the more concrete your decisions will be.
Yeah, right. And how does AI fit in this story?
AI has been around for some time, but there is sometimes a misconception about it. You can't quickly buy an artificial intelligence tool and expect to quickly have all the analysis of your data automated. For this, you need AI specialists who know how to get your data used by the different AI systems. On the other hand, you can also buy ready-made tools where you don't need a technical person in-house, but you're going to have to pass your data to this third party. This is a cheaper solution than hiring an artificial intelligence specialist in-house.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Kevin, for your insights. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
You're welcome, Peter, and thanks for thinking of me to share my knowledge. I hope the listeners are going to be as enthusiastic as they were during our last webinar.
Absolutely. So thank you for listening to our retail broadcast channel. If you like this episode, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Let us know what challenges you are facing for our next podcast. And if you'd like to know more about retail, visit our website www.analyticalways.com. You can also find us on your favorite social media, YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn. See you next week.
You're listening to Retail Broadcast Channel.